Welcome back to We Play Games. I'm Walker, and here we are continuing our intro to CK3 campaign with Maharaja Skarphedinn of Tamilakam. And so our father, Friedrichr, has died. Friedrichr was successful in getting us into the early medieval age and began our technological development here with communal government. We're also going to pick up coinage, probably horseshoes after that. We'll see what we pick up. But of course, one of the things that Skarphedinn was hoping was that he was going to be able to get his old man to live a little bit longer. But poor Friedrichr, he saw a vision of his own death, then became infirm and indeed passed away. And now there are three of us who are kings. And unlike his father, who tolerated the presence of another king for almost 5 years, we are going to go ahead and attack Karnata like right away. And we're going to be doing this so that we can talk about combat advantage, because I think combat advantage is the one big thing that we haven't really talked about in regards to combat, and it is a big one. I of course imagine that somewhere there the steward is saying, "My lord, there's no chance, you can't possibly afford to do all of this," and Skarphedinn saying back arbitrarily, "Well, it's important then that my brothers start paying taxes then, isn't it?" So here we've managed to catch our brother. He is a brilliant military genius, and so his combat advantage is going to be really high. He's got commander martial skill plus 23, defending a river crossing plus 10, leading your own soldiers, never back down, chivalry, always spacing the hold, stoic. He has an outrageous combat modifier here, but unfortunately, even with all this combat advantage going towards him, that's only going to increase his damage by 56%. It's not going to allow him to win this fight, because we have 13 champions, he's got 5. He'll be punching way above the weight of these troops, but we don't overestimate the impact of combat advantage. Plan ahead. That's why we're only doing combat advantage now, because I think that if you really want to do well in war in Crusader Kings 3, combat advantage is sort of the last thing that you worry about in regards to your military victories. The first thing you need to worry about is, as we highlighted, your champions and your men-at-arms. But poor Skarphedinn, he's a lover, not a fighter. Forgiving, lustful, arbitrary. He's going to go out here and pillage as he should, but when you're a nice guy like this, you have problems whenever you get the Fire and Blood event. We'll get a lot of stress just from being a Viking. And so I think it's going to be pretty flavorful for Skarphedinn to, once he's got the borders that he wants, to decide to convert to Hinduism. Because he just wants to have a good time, man. So one of the other big things that can contribute to your combat advantage is your supplies. This one is really important to manage whenever you're fighting a longer war. Your supplies are not only going to have a massive penalty, especially if you get down to starving like this, minus 25 combat advantage. But once you get down to literally starving, you start suffering attrition. So either at that point, you need to break your army up and start splitting it onto different provinces here with different supply limits, or just disband your troops. If you're in the middle of a fight, obviously disbanding your troops can be kind of dangerous, but sending them out into the countryside to forage is, I think, very flavorful, and hopefully the troops think it's flavorful too. Ho 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 ho. But boy, that was really rough for our economy. So before Skarphedinn is able to absorb his other brother here, we're gonna need to go on a raid. But fortunately / unfortunately, the massive alliance network that we had built up here in India has dissolved, because remember that we don't really have a whole lot of marriage alliances here. And some of our brothers are just like wandering off to Byzantium, or being sent to Byzantium, one or the other. But of course, there's a little side benefit here. Without all these allies around, we can do a lot of raiding. Yeah, this right here is kind of why eventually I think it makes sense for Skarphedinn to convert, because, bring me bounteous plunder. It causes poor Skarphedinn stress. He doesn't like being forced to do this, Dad. But the wealth of the kingdom certainly does flow through other people's hands first, so we do what we gotta do to survive. Alright, so we've defeated our brothers, and I think that this is going to be a good opportunity for Skarphedinn to just push into northern India, because I think what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get a whole lot of the Hindu holy sites under our control, and a lot of them are concentrated right here. So of course we're going to need to push up through the middle, but I think that's okay. It'll end up with a weird looking Deccan Empire, but that's okay. That's fine. I want to leave you with one final note on combat advantage here. So you see that we're fighting the Maharashtra kingdom, and they're defending, and when you're defending in an area that you control, if there are any buildings there that give you any sort of defensive bonuses, which you'll be mostly getting from things like hill forts and castles and the like, but you can see they're getting a small bonus from hound pens as well as a bonus from defending in jungle. And so terrain is not just important from the perspective of whether or not there's a river there, it's also impactful in terms of your combat advantage. Now, I did want to do part of this video as dueling, but dueling is so complicated that I think one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm just going to link to the wiki. But dueling operates where your goal is to, within 4 rounds, 2 to 4 rounds, you need to either hit success or your opponent needs to have too much risk of injury. Either one will work. You want to make sure that your injury doesn't get too high. And of course, you want to be picking the thing that's going to increase your own chance of winning the most. And then at the end, if you're still fighting, then it just goes to the person who has the most prowess. And the way they keep track of that, of course, is that you do have temporary combat modifiers that are going to be increasing or decreasing your prowess during the duel. But prowess is the primary stat being used in duels, so don't neglect your prowess. Right on time, we're hitting strange gods. We even got down to apostate. So converting faith, which we are going to be doing probably next episode. There are a couple of different ways to convert your faith in Crusader Kings 3. And just as a little prelude, if you are an unreformed faith, your spouse is a reformed faith, you can actually just adopt their faith. But if you don't have that as an option, you can always navigate to whichever faith you're talking about converting to, and then go down to convert to faith, and then it'll tell you the total cost, as well as which vassals are going to convert with you. Yeah, we'll save conversion for the next episode, and I think that'll be a good coda for Skarphedinn. He's managed to conquer enough that he actually could become an emperor here. We just need gold. We'll finish devouring whatever areas we want as a Norse, and maybe we'll pillage a couple of things, but we're heading pretty quickly towards an adaptation into local religions. So yeah, that's the early conquests of Skarphedinn of Tamilakam. He's been king now for about 2 decades, and we will go ahead and finish doing some more conquests and then do some pillaging, because we're going to go ahead and click create title on the Deccan Empire. But we're going to do creating that title as well as converting to some form of Hinduism in the next episode. And then we'll probably do 2 or 3 more episodes after that, because I do want to have whichever one of our sons ends up succeeding us found a new religion as well. Because I think that if you know how to fight and operate with technology and culture, run an economy, and interact with religions, then you really do know the core of Crusader Kings 3. So I don't need to make this a 30 episode series. I think 15 will do. But for now, that's Walker, that's We Play Games, and that's Combat Advantage and Dueling with Skarphedinn. That's Walker. Take care.